Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We have exactly 2 days of King Richard left, and today we get to hear from Richard himself, who is no longer king. He has been deposed. He's living in a jail cell in Pomfret. His wife has been sent off to France. Henry is now king. He was coronated somewhere offstage. We didn't get to see that actually happen, but it's a thing that happened. And there are already conspiracies against him to unking him, and yesterday we had him dealing with the list of conspirators that was given to him by the Duke of York, who is the father of one of the conspirators, otherwise known as the Duke of Aumerle, who's actually technically Rutland now because he lost his titles when Richard was deposed. So because of a lot of begging done by the Duchess of York, Henry pardons Aumerle, but sort of sets out a hit on all of the rest of the conspirators on the list. And that was the end of Act 5, Scene 2. And Act 5, Scene 3 is this little bitty scene between Exton and a couple of his guys. And Exton has sort of been there maybe in the background in the past, but he's not somebody that we necessarily know very well so far. But he's talking to his guys and he's like, was it just me, or was King Henry basically asking somebody to kill Richard? Like, he needs to be rid of Richard. Was I hearing that wrong? And his guys are like, no, that's kind of what we heard too. And he's like, and then as he's saying somebody should kill Richard, he was like looking straight at me. So basically he wants me to be the one to go kill Richard so that he can be done with him. And they're like, yeah, that makes sense. So that's the end of Act 5, Scene 3. Act 5, Scene 4 starts out in Richard's jail cell with Richard in the cell by himself. He has been sort of stripped of everything, his lands, his titles, his kingdom. His wife has been sent off to France. His identity as the chosen mouthpiece of God has been taken away from him. So he's mentally not in a very good place right now. But he starts out the scene by saying, I have been studying how to compare this prison where I live unto the world. And for because the world is populous, and here is not a creature but myself, I cannot do it. Yet I'll hammer it out. My brain, I'll prove the female to my soul the father. And these two beget a generation of still-breeding thoughts. And these same thoughts people this little world in humors like the people of this world. For no thought is contented, the better sort, as thoughts of things divine are intermixed with scruples, and do set the faith itself against the faith, as thus, come little ones, and then again, it is as hard to come as for a camel to thread the postern of a needle's eye. Thoughts tending to ambition, they do plot unlikely wonders, how these vain weak nails may tear a passage through the flinty ribs of this hard world, my ragged prison walls, and for they cannot die in their own pride. Thoughts tending to content flatter themselves that they are not the first of fortune's slaves, nor shall not be the last, like silly beggars who, sitting in the stocks, refuse their shame, that many have, and others must sit there. And in this thought they find a kind of ease, bearing their own misfortune on the back of such as have before endured the like. Thus play I in one prison many people, and none contented. Sometimes am I king, then treason makes me wish myself a beggar, and so I am. Then crushing penury persuades me I was better when a king. Then am I kinged again, and by, think that I am unkinged by Bolingbroke, and straight am nothing. But whate'er I am, nor I, nor any man that but man is, with nothing shall be pleased till he be eased with being nothing. Music do I hear. Keep time. How sour sweet music is when time is broke and no proportion kept. So is it in the music of men's lives. And here have I the daintiness of ear to hear time broke in a disordered string. But for the concord of my state and time, had not an ear to hear my true tongue. time broke. I wasted time. And now doth time waste me. For now hath time made me his numbering clock. My thoughts are minutes, and with sighs they jar their watches unto mine eyes, the outward watch, whereto my finger, like a dial's point, is pointing still, in cleansing them from tears. Now, sir, the sound that tells what hour it is are clamorous groans that strike upon my heart, which is the bell. So sighs and tears and groans show minutes, hours, and times, but my time runs posting on in Bolingbroke's proud joy, while I stand fooling here, his jack of the clock. This music mads me, let it sound no more. For though it have helped madmen to their wits, in me it seems it will make wise men mad. Yet blessing on his heart that gives it me. For 'tis a sign of love, and love to Richard is a strange brooch in this all-hating world. Sorry. So it's a big speech. It's a big speech on his loneliness and on all of the things that are going on in his head and all of the conflicting thoughts that he's having now that he's living in prison and he's no longer king, and he feels like he knows all of this stuff, but he doesn't know all of this stuff, and his whole identity and his whole world has shifted and changed. And not to mention even just like the physical aspect of it, he has been king since he was very young. He was always surrounded by people. He was always surrounded by people that would tell him things and listen to him and take his opinions into consideration and that sort of thing. And now here he is in a jail cell entirely by himself. He has nobody to talk to, nothing. He's just here in this nothingness. And one of the lines that really gets me is the, nor I, nor any man that but man is, with nothing shall be pleased till he be eased with being nothing. So he in jail, and anybody who is left with nothing is never gonna be happy until he's content with being nothing. So he's dealing sort of with his own nothingness at this point. And then he launches into the whole thing about time. So music starts playing, and he feels the weight of time passing and what he missed out on while he was being king and wasn't paying attention and was taking things for granted. But now the time is ticking very slowly but very steadily away. He realizes that all that he has now is time to sit and rot in a cell. But then he has that brief little moment at the very end of the speech where he's like, you know, this music is driving me crazy because it's reminding me of my own mortality. But it's very kind of somebody to play music for me because nobody is being kind to me anymore in this world. And at the end of this, a groom comes in who says he's been given just a quick moment to come in and see the face of the king that he loved so much. And Richard is grateful for the company. And the groom tells him about Bolingbroke's ride through the town on his coronation day. And they talk about the horse that he rode on. And Richard is kind of upset that that horse that he had raised and reared didn't just throw Bolingbroke off of it. But then the prison keeper and Exton and a couple other guys come in and they make the groom leave, and they're like, here, Richard, do you want to eat your food? And he's like, well, you're supposed to taste it first before I eat any. And they're like, yeah, Exton told me not to do that this time. So Richard is pretty convinced that if he eats this food, it's going to kill him, and he sort of snaps into fight or flight mode and aiming more towards fight, and he does fight as Exton and these couple other guys descend upon him. He is able to kill one of the other servants at minimum, but in the end Exton ends up killing Richard right there in his cell. And sort of the funny part about it is, as soon as he's dead, Exton is like, oh, I thought that was gonna feel a lot better, but maybe that was a mistake. So yeah, I'm gonna take the body of Richard to go show Henry that that's been taken care of, and then just, you know, you guys go bury the other people. And that's the end of Act 5, Scene 4. So we've got one more day left of this, because we just need to wrap it up now that King Richard II is dead in a jail cell. Yeah, so long, King Richard. I'll see you tomorrow for the last day of this play.